K98 Talk is expanding its lineup for 2015. This means we're expanding our advertising base. Whether you're a startup trying to push through to the next level or an established business trying to supplement your advertising budget, web-based advertising is a solid investment. Thanks to Talk's newest partnership with TuneIn Radio and instant access to our sister station, K98 FM, we give you worldwide access at a reasonable cost. Interested parties should email us at advertise@k98talk.org. The leader in talk radio on the Internet, right here on K98 Talk and the Spark Radio Network.
In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
Joe had huge problems with the IRS.
I knew it was coming. I hadn't filed taxes since 1990.
All the IRS letters coming in added up to a nightmare.
It got up to like $68,000. My heart started beating fast. It's like, there's no way, man. I mean, I ain't going to be able to do this.
Then they stopped his paycheck.
So that's when I started making phone calls and found U.S. Tax Shield.
U.S. Tax Shield went to work immediately.
They just took the bull by the horns. What blew my mind is he called the IRS right then and there.
So why is U.S. Tax Shield A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau? Joe knows.
They saved me a ridiculous amount of money.
If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or state, choose the company Joe chose, U.S. Tax Shield.
It was the best decision I made. U.S. Tax Shield is the way to go. Life is good. Thank you, Lord.
Call 800-471-3287.
U.S. Tax Shield. Boo-rah. Yes.
800-471-3287. 800-471-3287.
All right, folks. Well, it is... What day is it? Wednesday? Yeah, Wednesday. I am so confused thanks to Labor Day. Wednesday, September the 9th, 2015, just a couple of minutes past the hour of 6 right here in beautiful downtown Oklahoma City. I am, of course, Rick Robinson. You are listening to America Off the Rails. It's been a few days since we've been able to do a show. I am feeling a little bit better than I was yesterday, but not much. We're going to push our luck and try to do it anyway. I have the barf bag standing by just in case. Not joking either. All right, so... want to give a quick shout out to the affiliates here. So AMFM247.com. How are you folks doing out that way? We have Leading Edge Radio Network. We have SHR Media. We have, of course, the home station, K98 Talk, both available through .com and .org. If you like the autoplay feature, I do recommend .org. It'll actually pull up for you automatically and immediately. Then, of course, we also have... sorry, I got a Facebook message because people can't ever seem to not message me when I'm on the air. Anyway, so we have High Point Radio out of New Jersey, and he's still messaging me. Okay, so sorry, give me just a second. Actually, let me just go ahead and take a quick break. I know I didn't get to everybody, so let's throw out Red State Talk Radio. Bear with me for just a moment, and I will be right back here in just a minute. All right, folks, as we go to break, I have a question. Are you in the market for a dependable used vehicle? Because if so, I know somewhere you need to check out today. They're located in Pryor, Oklahoma. It is Roberts Auto Chevy, Roberts Auto Dodge, and Roberts Ford Lincoln. They're, again, located in Pryor. They have over 2,000 vehicles available between the 3 lots. And if they don't have what you're looking for, they can and will find it for you if possible and still give you the best deal available. Call Ryan today at 918-693-2866. Again, that's Ryan, 918-693-2866. And tell them Rick from K98 Talk sent you, and they'll even give you a better deal. Can't beat that, folks. We'll be right back.
We will keep this promise.
Hey folks, Slickery Trigger here. I'd like to take a minute to tell you about Rebel Road Tactical. As a defensive pistol instructor, I've had the opportunity to observe many different holster designs and configurations. And one thing is clear. Many of my students won't carry a pistol. Or worse, they'll carry one without a holster at all. Holster designers aren't making holsters for normal people. It seems that most holsters are either an expensive piece of gear designed for Rambo or a piece that doesn't fit or function the way real people need it to fit and function. So, like any good Texan, I decided to learn to form kydex and design one myself, one that would fit the needs of average people. The result is the Rebel Road Tactical CRT Modular. The CRT stands for Carry, Range, and Training. Its thin and lightweight curved design minimizes printing and is adjustable to fit just right for superior comfort and function. Check us out after the show at rebelroadconcealed.blogspot.com.
We will keep this promise to the American people. If you like your doctor, you will be able to keep your doctor, period. If you like your health care plan, you'll be able to keep your health care plan, period.
This is the most transparent administration in history. Not even a smidgen of corruption.
Fact is, we had 4 dead Americans. What difference at this point does it make?
If you got a business, you didn't build that.
Welcome to the face. Welcome to the face of the new democracy. Don't expect us to admit a mistake. We're paying off election debts to those who will take. Attorney General's lying even while
It's time to hear the truth about America's biggest challenges. You're listening to America Off the Rails with your host, Rick Robinson.
All right, folks, we are back. We are live. This is America Off the Rails. We got the bill paying part out the way, so now let's get into the show. All right, so lots of stuff been going on for the last few days. We're going to give you a little bit of an overview, then dive right in. 2 main topics we're going to be talking about tonight are a couple of articles that I've come across starting in July, and even one more recent, and a couple others that are actually claiming that conservatives are starting to feel the burn. And yes, my eyes were rolling, and those were air quotes. And then, of course, after the break, I will give you my take on Kim Davis and maybe explain why I've stayed silent as long as I have. But some of you are going to like it, some of you are not, but I'm still going to tell you what I feel is the truth when it comes to that stuff. I've got a couple of sound clips we're going to play about that, and then we'll talk about it. But, of course, I want to start off the show highlighting something that I found while I was researching Kim Davis, because there has been a rumor that Kim Davis, of course, and it's now been confirmed, that she is a Democrat out of Kentucky. Little surprising to me, because, don't know how many people I've heard calling her an evil, hateful Republican and crazy conservative and all of the above, and it turns out she's a Democrat. Well, it was brought to my attention by somebody on Twitter that they believe that not only is she a Democrat, she might actually even be a Bernie Sanders supporter. I haven't been able to find any articles linking the two, but I did find a few interesting articles in regards to Bernie Sanders. One of them are actually, both of them that I found so far are actually from Salon. One of them I don't have up any longer, but I do still have this one. This is from July the 9th, so this is from a couple of months ago. Conservatives and the Bernie Sanders love fest. Why the right has the hots for a prickly socialist. Republicans for Bernie Sanders, crazier things have happened in American politics, with the Vermont senator seeing a rise in Democratic primary polls and growing national media attention. Some Republicans are beginning to take notice of the self-described democratic socialist. There is a subreddit that asks, is it a good thing that for conservatives that Bernie Sanders is running for president? Now, this is back when everybody was still kind of the take, well, maybe he'll be enough to knock out Hillary, but, there's no way he's ever going to win. I'm here to tell you, I'm not so sure. And I'll go into that here in a little bit, but I just kind of want to touch on a little bit more about this article. And then I will tell you why I hope he doesn't win. In any case, much of the conservative talk of Sanders centers around a supposed common enemy, in this case, which is Hillary Clinton. At the Conservative American Thinker, one writer said that of the Sanders surge, that sound you hear is Hillary Clinton supporters whistling past the graveyard, while another wrote Bernie Sanders sends a chilling message to Hillary's campaign. Some conservatives have even taken to suggesting that Sanders' rhetoric is popular because it's similar to Republicans, as one conservative commentator wrote in a blog post titled Bernie Sanders says conservatives are right about unemployment. Conservatives have been saying for years that the real unemployment is way higher than 5.5 or even the most recent 5.3%. Why? Well, a few reasons. The biggest being that more people have simply dropped out of the workforce. It's not that unemployment is down, it's that few people are even attempting to look for work at all. You can't fail at something you have never even attempted. Everybody ignored the conservatives and tried to pretend they didn't exist. Well, that's becoming a little harder when Bernie Sanders comes out saying the exact same thing. Yes, that Bernie Sanders. Still, thanks Bernie for proving conservatives right about unemployment. You're a real pal. Now go find a damn comb. That was actually from the author. Although I have to admit, a lot of Bernie Sanders pictures, I'm telling you, he could give Trump a run for his money if he was a little younger with a little more hair. Now, first of all, I would like to say thank you, Bernie Sanders, for finally pointing out that a Democrat does understand that our numbers are broken, have been for quite some time. Why the rest of your folks are still trying to hide that, I'm not quite sure. But hey, whatever works for you, whatever makes you sleep, whatever makes you sleep better at night. Now let me tell you the thing, and this is actually a bit of a paraphrase from the other article that I just read that was more recent. And the writer there goes on to mention that when he did live in Vermont, because in the 2000s he was there, it wasn't uncommon to see a sign for W for President right next to a Bernie Sanders for office sign, because as you know, he's been a congressman, now a senator. So it wasn't that uncommon for folks that were supporting W for the presidency to be supporting Sanders for lesser office. Now, as much as one that kind of made me do a double take, I don't know if anybody who was actively and adamantly supporting somebody like W for the White House is all of a sudden ready to throw in behind a socialist for the same office. Let me give you my take on why I don't think socialism as a whole is going to work. I know he's a democratic socialist, Rick. Come on, there's a difference, man. It's not like China and Russia and everybody else. Those are full-on communists. This is just democratic socialist. This is the idea that the government knows better to do with our money than what we know to do with our money. Well, let me tell you the thing that nobody wants to talk about. There's that old adage, and it still holds true. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. You want to see ideas about how and why things like, the government taking full control of your life is not going to be a good idea? Please reference George Stephanopoulos. The guy that started out White House press secretary, then he went to work for ABC, then he started actively working for the Clinton campaign again, while still working for ABC, and being paid tons and tons and tons of money. The thing about it is that nobody wants to talk about is all we're really doing at that point is we're playing a shell game. Right now, everybody's mad because the private sector is getting to keep a lot of the money. And a lot of folks at the top, they feel like, are keeping way too much of the money. The argument nobody wants to make with that is they don't seem to have the same problem with their union bosses. But we'll get to that in a second. That actually comes back to a conversation that I had over Labor Day. And since I haven't really done a live show since then, I thought we would talk about that a little bit tonight as well, because it all kind of ties into this. But the simple fact of the matter is, if you hold to the adage, absolute power corrupts absolutely, because if you look, it happens every single time. What's going to wind up happening is all of the people that everybody hates out of the private sector, or the public sector, or private sector, I'm sorry, as in, the corporate bigwigs, everybody else, they will simply follow the money into a life of supposed servitude. And then we're still going to be out, because basically all they're going to be doing is taking the money from everybody and giving it to everybody else, and then they're the ones that decide who get to do what. And one of the things that, Bernie Sanders keeps talking about, which makes absolutely no sense to me, is one of the biggest economic woes that we have is that we have like 1,800 different kinds of deodorant, 2,000 different kinds of cologne, and racks and racks and racks of different types of shoes, but we have kids that are starving in the streets. Not sure how those suddenly became co-independent ideas, but whatever works for you, Mr. Sanders. See, I can't even call him Mr. Sanders, because then I think of Kentucky Fried Chicken, and then it makes me not want to eat Kentucky Fried Chicken. And I'm sorry, I'm a fat kid. I like Kentucky Fried Chicken. Not as much as I like churches, but I do like Kentucky Fried Chicken. All right, sorry, but I digress. So, why won't socialism work in America? Why don't I think it will work in America? Because we're smarter than that? I would hope. Because we like having control of our lives. We have always been the place where everybody comes to embrace their destiny, to reach out and try for the brass ring. Because, look, guys, it's no less true today than it was 100 years ago. When you make that leap, even if you miss the brass ring, most likely, at least for a time, you're going to land in a much better place than you would have if you hadn't tried at all. This whole station is living proof of that. No, there's not much money in it yet, but look at all of you that tune in every single day to hear our ideas. We never in a million years thought it would get this big, and it gets bigger every single day. And it's because we care. And I'm not saying that just to say it, it's the truth. But that's the thing. If you don't risk anything, you're never going to get anywhere. And that's what nobody wants to think about. When we talk about this idea of the government basically having more control over your money and taking your tax money and making sure that everything is designed to make sure that you're safe and that you're well cared for and that you have your little box house and your little box car and everybody gets 3 gray outfits a week and they have to wash them every 3 days and everybody gets the same kind of deodorant and the same kind of shoes because the government decides everything. What do you think is going to happen to creativity? What do you think is going to happen to drive if everybody realizes that, hey, I can coast now, man, because the government's paying for my house, the government's paying for my car, and, there are liberal heads exploding everywhere right now as we speak because they're like, dang it, Rick, it's not like that. This is not how this works. That's not how any of this works. I'm sorry, but that's exactly how all of this works. When you take away people's need to strive, thrive, and succeed, all you do is create apathy. We have case studies of this in front of us right now today because we now have generations and generations of people that have grown up in our social service safety nets that have basically over time been turned into spider webs. Don't get the analogy, let me explain it. When this stuff was originally set up, things like Social Security, food stamp benefits, housing benefits, all of the other programs that are there for people who are struggling. It was originally intended as something to help them subside while they got back on their feet. But what it has turned into is a program and a group of programs that it is nearly impossible to get off of. Because they make it so hard, once you've fallen that far, to be able to pick yourself up, because you can't make a certain amount of money and still be able to keep the benefits. Let me tell you how this ought to work. If you are truly trying to get people to the point where they are self-sufficient, which, let's stop kidding ourselves, that's not been the government's goal for quite some time. And that's why this douche nozzle is getting all the attention, because he's got all these people that have all this time said we need to have better social programs, we need to expand Medicaid, we need free college. If it's free, come on. How many kids today actually even bother to graduate high school? And that was the whole reason why we started doing the government programs for that anyway, was to make sure that we had kids that knew what they were doing by the time they graduated high school. We can't even keep the kids in school there. Do you think it's going to go any better if we made college free? Seriously? We need to revamp the entire education system, and the only way to do that is to get the government the hell out the way. Because there used to be a time when, after a certain amount of time, you started taking aptitude tests, and they started saying, hey, these are the things that you like, these are the things that we think you would be good at. Are any of these things something that you would like to learn a career path in? Don't make them do it. Offer them choices. After about 8th grade, let's start gearing people to the point where they're actually learning a trainable skill. We have so many people today that are complaining because nobody knows how to do the jobs. Because we have an entire generation that right now basically went into somewhere like Burger King, McDonald's, Kentucky Fried Chicken, and they got their fresh out of high school or during high school jobs, and then they graduated high school, and now they're still at McDonald's, and they're still at Burger King, and they're still at Kentucky Fried Chicken. And you know what? There is not a problem with that. There really isn't. Because if that's all you can do, then fine, that's all you can do. But can we not, especially if we're going to keep making all this noise about making everything free, can we start using it to our benefit instead of just setting all of these stupid asinine goals and saying, you have to be able to read so many hours, and it doesn't matter if it's the phone book as long as you're reading. Or you have to be able to explain why 2 + 2 = fish. And no, I'm not kidding at this point. Have you looked at some of these Common Core math problems that everybody's throwing a fit about? And everybody wonders why guys like Bernie Sanders are getting all the attention? It's the same thing that Obama won on steroids. Let me talk to you about all of the free stuff that I'm going to be able to give you if you just vote for me, and then you keep voting for me and you keep getting more free stuff. But if you ever don't vote for me, I'm going to take all the free stuff away. Can we please, are there enough of us left that have some form of common sense to understand that if at this point we give the government the kind of control that Bernie Sanders wants, we will no longer be the nation that we are today? Can somebody please just tell me that there are enough of you out there that understand what freedom actually still means? What it means to take an idea. And I'm sorry, I know I keep coming back to this, but you have to understand, this all started as a Facebook page. A crazy idea on a Facebook page from a guy that was tired of feeling like nobody listened, and I just started putting out ideas. And then I got bored because, it's fun to rant and rave about the stuff that you believe in and that is always on your side, but I don't like the idea of being in an echo chamber, so I brought Dave aboard, and it became a whole new dynamic where we were actually discussing issues that conservatives and liberals and everybody else could actually agree on, and there were plenty of things that we didn't agree on. But all of this whole business model, and that's what it is now, folks. We have sponsors, we have folks that are syndicated on several different networks. We're being reached out to by certain, or being approached by certain AM platforms. My show was already on an AM/FM platform. I mean, this is a business model. And that's why I keep trying to make people understand. Do you not understand what freedom means anymore? There is going to come a time where if we continue this slide to the point where we want the government to do everything for us from the time that we're born to the time that we die, that there will be no freedom or creativity any longer. There will not be the ability to get on the internet and say, hey, I have an idea. Let's see if I can do something with that idea. Yeah, it takes time and it takes long, hard hours, and you may be working 1, 2, 3, 4 jobs to make it happen. But as you start seeing it come together, you start to understand what it was that the people that have built these businesses that everybody wants to slam now, what they felt like when they started seeing all the pieces come together and you start seeing all of your hard work paying off. That's what we need to have in this country again. We need to get the government out of the way. We don't need to keep giving them more control and more power, because if we do that, you think I'm joking, but if we do that, in a couple of generations, there will be gray clothes, gray cars, gray block houses, and everything will look exactly the same. There'll be one brand of perfume, one brand of cologne, one brand of deodorant, one brand of toothpaste, because the government will have all of the control, and the government will be the ones telling you what you can buy, when you can buy it, when you can sleep, what job you can have, and that is exactly where we are headed if people like Bernie Sanders keep picking up steam. This is why I'm afraid. When you start hearing somebody as crazy as Ann Coulter, and I'm sorry, I don't much care for Ann Coulter. I know a lot of you out there that are diehard Fox News supporters are like, oh my God, I can't believe Rick just said he doesn't like Ann Coulter. I'm never listening to Rick again. Ann Coulter's a polemic. I'm not saying she's not an intelligent polemic, because she's managed to build a brand and make herself a pretty good niche and make a lot of money. So that much I respect. But when Ann Coulter is starting to look around going, guys, we thought this Sanders guy was kind of a joke, and we were hoping that maybe he'd be able to knock off Hillary because, you know, there's no way that America's going to elect a socialist. And even she's like, we might be in trouble. And it's because we've become the land of free stuffs. How much stuff can you give me today that I don't have to worry about doing anything about until my grandkids are grown? Because by then I'll be dead and they have to pay for it. We have become so self-absorbed, so self-centered, that all we care about is what can I get from my government today? You know, there was a time when even a Democrat asked not what your country can do for you, but instead what you can do for your country. Now it's, what have you done for me lately, Eddie? Okay, for those of you who might not have gotten the reference, please go back to Eddie Murphy Raw. Because that's all it is anymore. It's what are you gonna give me? 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 When are you gonna give it to me? What am I gonna get this? What about this? What about that? Hey, what about that phone? Hey, you know what? Hey, I'm kind of broke. Help me pay for my house. Hey, let's give me some health care, because, you know, I'm too broke to do anything about that. And I've already got $700 a month in food stamps because I keep popping out babies because nobody tells me not to. And, you know, that goes just as much for the guys as it does for the ladies. So before anybody says, oh my God, I can't believe he just said that, I'm telling you right now, there's something that can stop that. But the problem is, and no, I'm not talking about Planned Parenthood. The problem is, too many people are being told, and I've seen this happen, so this is not something that I'm pulling out of my rear end. Too many people are being told when they go in for help, you know, and all of a sudden, hey, are you guys married? Well, no, we're not married. So, well, hey, we want to talk to her alone for a second. So why don't you go ahead and sit over here? So the guy gets suddenly ushered out of the room, and all of a sudden the social worker starts talking to the female person, and all of a sudden she's like, hey, you know, you're not married to that guy. You know that, right? So there's no legal reason you have to stay together. Kick him out. We'll get you more money. Because if you have to put in his income, because if you're in the same house and you want things like I almost said Sooner Care, but that's because it's here in Oklahoma, medical coverages or housing assistance, you'll have to put in any income that he has too. But if you because you are single, If you make him go live at his parents' house or go couch surf or whatever, we'll make sure you get more money. And then they go home and they start talking to the other folks that have probably grown up in the same type of programs, and all of a sudden it turns into, hey, you know, it's great that they're giving you all that money and they're helping you with your housing and everything else, but you know, that kid's like, what, 3-4 years old now? You should have another one. Because then you'll get even more money. These are the people that are now being allowed to vote. And you can hate me for what I just said, but you know as well as I do it's the truth. We have an entire generation of people that have grown up with their hand out. And they don't know any differently. They don't have any control over their lives. They wait for the government checks to come in. They wait for the food stamps to come in. They wait for the housing approvals to be done. And they, if they really sat down and added up all their benefits, probably make more than you and I do per hour. And what they're told every single time they try to get off the programs is, hey, if you start making more than this amount of money, we're going to have to start taking things away from you. Now, you tell me how that benefits anybody other than Bernie Sanders, because we now have an entire generation of people that are now old enough to vote, that are now second and third generation of this, and now not only can they vote, their parents can still vote, and probably their grandparents can still vote. So now we have 3 generations of people that are looking around going, ooh, look, that guy's going to give us more free stuff. We should vote for that guy. Because, you know, Obama promised us all kinds of free stuff and made one lady feel like she wasn't going to have to worry about her mortgage payment anymore or putting gas in her car or any of the above. But he didn't do most of what he said he was going to do. But we should still vote for this guy because he's going to do what he says he's going to do. And this, again, ties back to Labor Day, because Dave and I I let Dave go on for several minutes about Bernie Sanders. And now he, as a liberal, feels it's fine to support Bernie Sanders because he agrees with a lot of the things that he basically says socially and even economically. And the things that are completely crazy and off the wall, he doesn't think are ever going to happen anyway. I submit to you, there are a lot of us that never thought anything like the Patriot Act would exist in this country, and yet here we sit. So that type of thinking is dangerous. The thinking that we need to continue to give a government that shows us every single day how badly they abuse us and our systems that are put in place, the thought that we need to continue to give them more power as opposed to reining them in is not only asinine, it's Einstein's definition of insanity, living out in front of our very eyes. Speaking of Einstein's definition of insanity, it is about time for us to take a break. When we get back from the break, we're going to change gears because I think I've ranted my little tail end off about this one long enough. But we are going to change gears here in just a second, and we are going to talk about Kim Davis. Why I have not talked about her before now, and how it is, or how exactly it is that I feel about her, and the stances that she's taken. Again, some of you are going to like it, some of you are not, but we will be right back after these commercial messages. So don't go away, folks. We'll be right back here in just a couple minutes, right here on America Off the Rails. I'm your host, Rick Robinson. Going to break. Coming right back. Catch you in a few.
Red Nation Rising brings you Town Hall Radio.
From a single tweet to 3 million a month, our community is a force to be reckoned with on social media.
So don't miss our show, Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern on K98 Talk.
Our chat room is our co-host, and you ask the question.
Join us and be heard.
So get ready to sound off on Red Nation Rising Radio. No one else is going to do it for you.
In these these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
K98talk.com, a leader in internet radio. So grab your seatbelts and take the ride of your life on K98talk.com.
We will never fully understand what we've asked of our military service members, of their families or their children, asking them to deploy, patrol, stay on watch, on point, asking them to put themselves in harm's way, to endure it all. But we do understand that it's our turn, our duty, to bring them all the way home, to keep them secure, to have their backs for the rest of their lives. Wounded Warrior Project long-term support programs do whatever it takes to help our most severely ill or injured veterans live independently, at no cost, for life, so that they might stand at ease. Find out how you can help at findwwp.org.
This is JD.
And this is Stacy.
Join us Tuesday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern, for Game On. Remember,
lock up the children and the old folks.
Game On, the home of liberty-conservative conservatarians.
Where no one is safe and no one is spared, not even the hosts.
Oh, that was supposed to be a spin cycle. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. We love you anyway. Right round, baby.
Self-monitoring
right
Ebola
anyway.
radio strikes again.
Anyway.
Anybody see the host monkey? Where's the host monkey? Where's the host monkey? For God's sake, I need an antidote. Just do your rant. Let's pop out of the segment.
Has to do with
Find us on Twitter at JD and Stacy.
You're listening to K98talk.com.
Cause we got a pen and telephone to bypass all your laws. Political correctness will replace the Bill of Rights. Support religious freedom, bless you, pray to Jesus Christ. The press is in our pockets.
All right, folks, we're back. We're live. This is America Off the Rails. We're into the last half of the show. Got a lot more to talk to you about. Got a couple of clips. I'm going to start off with the shortest one. Well, actually, no, we'll probably load the other one first because it's a little older. This one's going to run a little over 5 minutes. May not play the whole thing, but it should give you an idea of what's going on in the news with Miss Kim Davis.
Kim is also in that long line of individuals who are willing to pay the consequence for a conscious decision regarding their conscience and their religious convictions. And we ought to applaud Kim Davis for that rather than jailing her. She never thought she'd be on the other side of the bars wearing an orange jumpsuit.
Story all about jailed Kentucky clerk Kim Davis's lawyer right there, speaking out about her arrest yesterday right here on Fox and Friends. Davis was taken into custody last week after refusing to sign marriage licenses for same-sex couples because of her religious faith. And now, Davis is appealing the order that put her behind bars as thousands are rallying to support her, demanding her release. And someone leading that fight joining us live right now. He's spearheading the fight for faith, 2016 presidential candidate, former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee. Good morning, Governor.
Good morning, Ed.
Tell me about what you're doing over the next 24 hours to sort of expand your efforts in this fight.
We'll be holding a rally at the Carter County Detention Center in Grayson, Kentucky, Tuesday afternoon at 3 o'clock Eastern. And the purpose of it is to show support for Kim and also to let the world know that it is unacceptable to put a person in jail without bail because she followed her conscience And not only that, but she followed the only law that is in front of her. The Supreme Court's ruling, in fact, said that they ruled that there was rights for same-sex marriage. But the Supreme Court, Ed, can't make a law. They can't bring into a codified version of the law and prescribe specifically. What has happened is exactly what the dissenting justices like Scalia and Roberts all said. This is going to create mass confusion. And in this case, it's gone beyond confusion and incarceration for a person who has very strong convictions. The irony, Ed, is that she was put in jail by a Republican judge, and she herself is a Democrat.
She's a
This
Democrat.
is not about partisan issues. And this is about the Constitution.
You're right. She's a Democrat. Most of the media does not mention that fact, which is very interesting. But I want to press you on the fact that over the last 6-7 years of the Obama administration, time and time again, you've said this president is acting unilaterally and is going outside the law. And so the Supreme Court, I hear what you're saying, but they've now spoken. And won't there just be chaos around the country if you have more clerks like this just saying, I'm not going to follow what the court said?
Well, we follow what the law says. The court says something, and it's not fully implemented into law and enabled until the people's representatives pass that law and specifically prescribe what it looks like until the executive signs it. And this is Civics 101. I mean, everybody should understand the three branches of government act in concert with each other, not independently of each other, and one can't overrule the other two. Jefferson warned about judicial tyranny. He said that this happens when you let the courts begin to make law. That was followed by Hamilton, Adams, Jackson, Lincoln, who disregarded the 1857 Dred Scott decision. The courts then said that black people weren't fully human. I don't think anybody says, oh, well, we've got to follow the law because that's what it says. That's what the Supreme Court said. Abraham Lincoln ignored it because he knew it wasn't right. And I think we're missing the bigger point. It's not.
Okay, so enough of that guy. All right, so why does any of that matter? All of that nice little about 3-minute long-winded scenario that he mentioned about, the Supreme Court's been wrong before. Look at the rulings on slavery, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. They're not the same thing, folks. And if you keep trying to make that type of an, you're going to have a bigger problem than anybody wants to think about. Because if we keep making the argument that religious freedom and religious expression trump all, then we might as well, for real, shut down Gitmo. Uh-oh. A lot of folks are like freaking out going, what do you mean shut down Gitmo? Look, think about it for a second. These people that are in Gitmo right now, a lot of them are using their religion as an excuse for what they're doing. They're going around basically killing people because they feel their God tells them it's okay for them to do that. You have folks that basically, before they blow themselves out, yell out the phrase Allahu Akbar. For anybody who hasn't been paying attention for the last 20 years or so, that is a phrase that means God is great. So, why is one form of religious expression okay and the other one is not? Is it because it's bringing harm to people? Is that the explanation? Because if that's your explanation, then what type of harm is it bringing for someone who is of the Christian persuasion to decide that they don't have to honor the fact that, as of now, our country is saying that from now on, gay people have the same rights as straight people. Because, I get it. I look at it every day, and I look at it, and I mean, come on. I have people that I know in my own life. And I just look at them and I shake my head. But you know what? That's, to quote the Kermit the Frog thing, that's really none of my business. And that's exactly what she should be thinking. Because this isn't about, I'm sorry, but to me, this is not about her standing up for her religious convictions. And I've seen all the folks all over social media that are talking about, well, she's been divorced so many times, remarried, committed adultery on most of her husbands, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. Okay, none of that matters. What does matter is, according to her, and I have to take her word for it, about 4 years ago, she had what a lot of us like to call the road to Damascus moment, where basically she realized that everything she had been doing was stupid, and she turned her life around and gave it back to God. Okay? I understand that. I commend her for that. But my problem is, where are we going to draw the line? I understand private businesses. I don't think private businesses should be made to do anything that they don't choose to. And I understand Huckabee's argument that actually wasn't part of this clip, but I've heard it before, that, her whole job description changed overnight thanks to the Supreme Court. Before then, it was illegal to issue a marriage license to anyone who wasn't one man, one woman. But again, where do we draw the line? Because if we keep standing on our guns and saying, look, my religion says you can't do this. Really? Do you know if they're Christians too? Do you know if they've accepted God into their heart? Do you know if they know who Jesus is? Because if you can't answer yes to all three of those questions without 100% equivocation, you cannot stand in judgment of them. The Bible says so. If you know for a fact that a believer is doing something that they're not supposed to be doing, it is your duty as a Christian to speak to them about it, but you do so in a private manner. Do not address them in public. Do not shame them. And you counsel them. That is where your role stops. Judgment does not belong to you. And especially if the people that you are talking about and to aren't even people of the same faith as you, we cannot hold the non-believers to the same standard as we hold believers. Otherwise, we get exactly what's happening right now. An entire group of people that don't understand why we're so angry over something that makes absolutely no difference to a vast majority of people anymore. That's the God's honest truth. That's the world we live in today. But here's the thing that nobody wants to talk about. If you're a Christian, this world is not your home. So the things that are happening in this world, not only should they not affect you, but you should rise above them. Because this is not your home. This is not where you are going to be. Not according to our belief system. So why do we keep intermingling ourselves and trying to force our beliefs on everybody else? Because eventually what we think we are and what we think we're doing is we're standing on a mountaintop in a white robe with a bright light saying, come follow me, and everybody else sees us no differently than they see the Islamic extremists. So who are we actually helping and who are we actually hurting? People have made fun of me for this idea, but this was my thought on how she could have done what she wanted to do without making such a big deal about it. Most marriage licenses and seals have Latin on them somewhere. There is a Latin phrase, sub recusatione. I could make you look it up, but I won't. It's Latin for under protest. If she was really having that big of an issue, because that's the story that keeps coming around now, is, no matter if she does it or one of her other clerks do it, it's ultimately her name that goes on the seal, that's on the stamp, that's on the marriage license, that's now been issued to Adam Smith and Steve Spangler, or Jane Doe and Jesse, whatever the heck the last name is. Sorry, I couldn't think of another one on the fly. But, so, yeah, you have a little fun with it and make people look it up to see what it means and then go, oh my God, she actually said she signed this under protest. I mean, it would have been a way to get your point across. Granted, it would have voided out all of the marriage licenses that have that stamp on it, but hey, probably would have gotten a lot more attention in a lot different of a way than what you're doing right now. But let's face it, she didn't do it. I'm sorry. I'm going to sound like a butthead, but hey, it's my show. I can do what I want. She didn't do any of this for religious convictions. She did it for 5 minutes of fame. And that's exactly what she's getting. She's got Huckabee using this as a platform to try to get more votes. Because there are lots of people out there that get angry anytime you hear a conservative talking about, hey, it's their bedroom. And I'm sorry, maybe I'll have to answer for that stance someday. And if I do, that's between me and my creator. But until I do, I have to do what I think is right. And ultimately, as long as it's not being paraded in front of me and on every single freaking channel like it's been for the last few years, I could really care less about who does what to whom in their bedroom or even with how many people. Because we have bigger things to worry about. We have bigger problems. And that's going to be my parting shot here right before I play this last clip from Huckabee. Actually, let's do that first. Because I do have another clip of his that I kind of wanted to play. And then it's about time to start winding things down a little bit.
Thanks. Let me make one statement that I want to get out today because I think it's a very important one. In Kentucky today, there is a county clerk who is showing more courage, more conviction, and more of a better understanding of the Constitution than virtually any elected official in America, than virtually any candidate for president, and certainly more than many of the people who run our government in Washington. She's a Democrat, and I salute her today, and I stand with her. And I talk about Kim Davis. I spoke to her by phone this morning. I called to encourage her and to thank her for not capitulating to what is really nothing less than judicial tyranny. When she's being told she has to issue marriage license, she's asking the right question. Under whose authority? And the Supreme Court issued a decision, but there has been no law enacted that would create for her the mechanism to do that. And she's showing a much clearer understanding of the Constitution than most of the elected officials in this country who have capitulated and surrendered to judicial tyranny. And I thank God for Kim Davis, and I hope more Americans will stand with her. Thanks. Thanks.
All right, so unlike Huckabee, I don't stand with Kim Davis. I do thank God for it because it gives those of us that actually are trying to keep a level head a chance to say something. And this is what I'm going to say about Kim Davis. Kind of the same thing I've been saying about gay marriage all along. We have so many other very important issues. We have the Iran deal, which I will actually hopefully have a chance to talk about tomorrow. And why I think we are in big trouble if that continues. But, you know, right now we have this person who says they're doing this for religious reasons. Okay, fine, if you are. Great. All you're really doing is showing Christians to be exactly what a lot of folks think we are, which is intolerant bigots. And I'm sorry, but that's exactly how you come across. Because the simple fact of the matter is, you could have either found a much quieter way to do your protest, or you could have stepped down. Because you can't be fired because you were elected. The majority of the folks in your little county probably feel exactly the same way you do, so the odds of you being impeached, probably next to zero. But if it was really that bad on your conscience, that would have been the stance that I would have taken. I'm sorry, but as of now, because of the fact that I do not feel my beliefs align with the Supreme Court's decision in regards to gay marriage, I have no choice but to resign my position. I hope that someone else that maybe doesn't have such a problem with it can maybe be elected to fill my role, but it's not something that I feel like I can do anymore. Or she could have just done exactly what everybody else is talking about and be like, hey, look, you know, you don't want to do it. Okay, fine. Somebody in your office probably doesn't have that big of a problem with it, so why don't you let them be the one to put the stamp on it? You know what a response was to that? It's still my name on every single one of those licenses. No matter who actually affixes the stamp, it's still my name. And? So, we're going to hold everybody in the country to your same standards, even if they don't believe the same thing that you do? Isn't that exactly what we get so mad about the Muslims? You know, they move into a store, they all of a sudden make it halal, all the bacon has to go away, no pork products, and all of a sudden everybody's up in arms. But isn't this the same thing in reverse? I mean, what's next? We can't have fishing licenses anymore because the county court clerk that issues them is now a vegan? Just my thoughts on it, folks. You can take them, you can leave them, whatever you decide to do. But at this point, it is about time for us to go ahead and wrap up, because we do have to make room for my good buddy Grouchy coming up right here, starting at just around 7 Central, so 8 Eastern, with their Conservative Curmudgeon radio show. As I said, I will be back with you tomorrow night live, hopefully discussing the Iran deal and more. Hope you have enjoyed the show, and I've given you my take on why conservatives are or are not feeling the burn, and exactly how I feel about Miss Kim Davis. I will be back with you again tomorrow night. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Rick Robinson. Have a good night.
Screw you guys. I'm going home. Later.
Game over, man. It's game over.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. Then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-513-6154. That's 1-800-513-6154. Again, 1-800-513-6154. Call now.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
Giggity, 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 let's have sex.